You've been sitting for 40 minutes. Maybe an hour. Reading. Working. Drinking coffee. Trying to relax. And then it happens, again. Your lower back stiffens. Your hips ache. Your shoulders slump forward. And your energy? Gone. Not because you worked too hard. Not because you did something wrong. But because sitting, something you do dozens of times a day, is quietly stealing your vitality. It creeps in slowly. At first, it's just a little stiffness when you stand up. Then, the walks to the kitchen get slower. The drive feels longer. You start groaning without realizing it every time you rise from a chair. But here's the part that most men miss. You didn't run a marathon. You didn't lift anything heavy. So why does your body feel like it's shutting down, just from being still? The truth is, your body was never designed to be still for this long. Especially not after 60. Every muscle, joint, nerve, and blood vessel is waiting for a signal. A reminder that you're still here. Still active. Still alive inside this body. And if you don't send that signal, you don't just lose flexibility. You lose presence. But what if the fix wasn't complicated? What if, instead of pushing through, you gave your body just 5 minutes, right at your desk, to reconnect? Not a workout. Not a routine that requires a yoga mat or a trainer. Just a gentle series of movements, done in the chair you're already sitting in, that releases your spine, opens your breath, and restores your energy. It doesn't just stretch your body. It brings you back into it. That's what I want to show you today. Because your vitality isn't gone, it's just waiting for you to move back toward it. Curtis was 72 when he came to see me, retired history teacher. Sharp mind. Quick wit. But when he walked into my office, I saw something in his posture I couldn't ignore: hesitation. He moved slowly. Carefully. Like every transition, from sitting to standing, from walking to turning, required negotiation. We sat down, and he told me the truth. "Doc, it's not pain exactly, but I feel disconnected from my body. I stand up, and it's like I have to wait for my legs to remember who they belong to." He wasn't looking for pills. He wasn't asking for a miracle. He just wanted to feel present in his own movements again. Curtis had tried stretches before, back when he was younger, more active. Now? He thought stretching was for athletes. Yoga was for the flexible, and sitting still was the only thing he thought he should be doing. But I offered him something different, a 5-minute desk stretch. Nothing fancy. No equipment. No expectations. Just 5 minutes of gentle movement, right at the chair he sat in every day. He laughed and said, "That's it? Sitting's my problem and sitting is also the solution?" I nodded. Exactly. It's not about sitting. It's about how you sit, and how often you remind your body to re-engage while doing it. Curtis agreed to try it for 1 week. He set a reminder. Mid-morning. Every day at 10:30. He stood for 10 seconds, then did the 5-minute routine, right there in his study chair. 1 week later, he emailed me. The subject line said, "Something strange happened," and in the message, he wrote, "Doc, I'm not just moving better. I'm not just standing up without groaning. I'm paying attention again. I don't feel like I'm disappearing into the chair anymore. I feel like I'm part of my body again." And that's the moment everything changed. Not because of a new medication. Not because of a high-tech solution. But because he gave his body 5 quiet minutes a day to return home. So why does something as gentle as 5 minutes of stretching make such a big difference after 60? Let's talk science, but in a way your body will recognize, not just your brain. Because as we age, something subtle happens. And most men miss it. Your body begins to lock up, without your permission. When you sit for long periods, your hip flexors shorten. Your chest tightens. Your spine compresses. Your blood flow slows. And worst of all? Your nervous system starts to down-regulate. It stops communicating clearly between your joints, your muscles, and your brain. Which is why, when you stand up, you feel foggy, unstable, or stiff. Not broken. Just disconnected. Warning: sitting is not the enemy, but stillness is. You were never meant to sit for 4 to 5 hours straight. Especially not in one position. Especially not in your 60s or 70s, when movement becomes medicine. Because when you stay still too long, the brain thinks, he's not using these systems anymore, let's power them down. But stretching? It's like flipping the circuit breakers back on. Light bulb: here's what 5 minutes of strategic stretching does. Reactivates your neuromuscular system, so your legs, hips, and back remember how to fire again. Increases blood flow to your spine, joints, and brain, so you feel warmer, steadier, more focused. Triggers nitric oxide release, the natural compound that relaxes and opens your blood vessels. Unwinds the tension built up from hours of unconscious slouching, which improves posture and confidence, without even trying, and maybe most importantly, it returns ownership. Because the real danger isn't aging. It's when a man begins to feel like his body no longer belongs to him. Like movement is something he used to do. But with just 5 intentional minutes, you prove that movement still lives in you. That strength still lives in you. That you still live in you. And that is the science your body responds to, far more than any pill ever could. Now, let's get practical. This is the exact 5-minute stretch routine I give to my patients over 60, especially men who spend a lot of time sitting at a desk, in the car, or at the kitchen table. You don't need gym clothes. You don't need a mat. You don't even need to stand up for most of it. All you need is a chair, 5 minutes, and the decision to come back into your body, starting now. Chair minute 1: seated chest opener. Sit tall near the edge of your chair. Roll your shoulders back. Now interlace your fingers behind you, either behind your lower back, or grabbing the sides of your chair. Gently pull your shoulders back and down. Open the chest. Lift your heart. Breathe in through your nose, hold for 2 seconds, exhale through your mouth slowly. Why this works: most men slump forward while sitting. This stretch reopens the chest and reactivates posture muscles. It also boosts lung capacity and oxygen intake. Leg minute 2: seated hip release. Stay seated. Cross your right ankle over your left knee, like a relaxed figure 4 position. Keep your back straight, and gently lean forward from the hips. Feel the stretch deep in your hip and outer thigh. Breathe. After 30 seconds, switch legs. Why this works: tight hips are one of the biggest causes of back pain, poor balance, and difficulty standing. This stretch opens the hips and resets lower body alignment. Brain minute 3: neck and amp. Spine reset. Sit upright again. Drop your chin slowly toward your chest. Then gently roll your head to the left. Pause, then to the right. Pause. Do this slowly and smoothly, don't force anything. Next, imagine someone lifting you from the crown of your head. Grow tall. Feel your spine lengthen. Why this works: this releases tension in the neck and reconnects posture with balance and brain blood flow. It also reduces that compressed feeling many men get by noon. Footprint minute 4 ankle pumps and amp. Calf wake up, place both feet flat on the ground. Now raise your heels and press into your toes. Then lower your heels and lift your toes. Alternate, back and forth, nice and steady. About 20 reps. Why this works: your calves act as blood pumps. This movement restores circulation from your legs back to your heart and brain. It's great if you've been sitting for a while or if your feet tend to swell. Lungs minute 5 breath and amp. Realignment, place your hands gently on your knees. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Now inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 2, exhale slowly through your mouth for 6. Do this 3 full rounds. With each breath, feel your body settle. Let your nervous system soften. Let your posture feel stable, rooted, but light. Why this works: your breath is your anchor. It rebalances your nervous system, supports blood pressure, and reconnects your body to the present. Checkmark, that's it. 5 minutes. At your desk. No sweat. No noise. Just you, reminding your body what it was built to do. You can do this once a day. Or anytime you feel stiff, tired, or mentally stuck. Because movement doesn't have to be hard, it just has to be intentional. And the most important strength you reclaim isn't in your muscles. It's in your ability to engage with life again. So what actually happens when you commit to this 5-minute stretch every day for just 1 week? Let me tell you what my patients tell me, because the results aren't dramatic at first. They're quiet, subtle, but powerful. Like the slow return of something you thought was gone. Spiral calendar day 1 lightness. You finish the stretch, and when you stand up, something feels different. Your legs don't resist. Your back doesn't arch in complaint. You move smoother. Curtis, 72, said, "It was like I stood up without having to explain myself to my body first." That's day 1. Not stronger. Not younger. Just lighter. Spiral calendar day 3 presence. By day 3, your brain starts catching up with your body. You sit straighter, without forcing it. You walk into the kitchen and realize, your steps feel more grounded. Your hips don't creak. Your shoulders feel like they're part of you again. And something even bigger? You feel more present. Not just physically, but mentally. You're not dragging yourself through the day. You're showing up in it. Spiral calendar day 5 momentum. This is when it becomes a habit, not out of discipline, but because you want the feeling. The stretch becomes a moment you look forward to. A pause in the noise. A way to say, I still care for this body, I still belong in it. One man told me, I stopped groaning when I stood up. That's how I knew something was changing. Spiral calendar day 7 ownership. This is where it gets emotional. Because now, it's not just about looser joints or better balance. It's about trust. You trust your body to move again. You trust your feet to support you. You trust yourself to keep showing up. And that trust? That quiet confidence? It spills into everything. The way you answer the phone. The way you sit with your grandkids. The way you look at yourself in the mirror. It all begins to shift. And all of that started with 5 minutes in the same chair you've always had. You didn't need to leave the house. You didn't need a gym. You just needed a moment and the willingness to return to yourself. Whenever I introduce this 5-minute desk stretch to my older male patients, they almost always say the same thing. Why didn't anyone tell me this earlier? And the answer is simple, because most of us are taught the wrong things about aging and movement. So let's break down the 3 biggest mistakes that quietly keep men stiff, tired, and stuck in their chairs. Crossmark mistake number 1. If I'm not in pain, I don't need to stretch. This belief is one of the most dangerous. You don't have to be in pain to be losing mobility. You don't have to be hurting to be tight, disconnected, or imbalanced. By the time pain shows up, your body has already been whispering for months. Stretching isn't a response to pain, it's a prevention of decline. It keeps the systems active before they break down. Crossmark mistake number 2. Sitting equals rest. No, it doesn't. Sitting equals stagnation, unless you move during it. When you sit without stretching, circulation slows, muscles shorten, your brain gets less oxygen, your joints compress. This doesn't restore energy. It drains it, quietly, day after day. Rest is only healing when movement is part of the rhythm. Crossmark mistake number 3. I'm too old to become flexible again. This one hurts the most. Because it's completely untrue. Your body is always changing. Always responding. Even in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, your connective tissues can soften, your joints can reawaken, and your nervous system can recalibrate. But not if you believe it's too late. Because belief shapes behavior, and behavior shapes biology. You're not too old. You've just gone too long without movement that's made for you. So here's the truth, you don't need to do yoga. You don't need to stretch like an athlete. You just need 5 quiet minutes a day to say, I refuse to let stillness steal my strength, and that single choice? That's how you start returning to yourself. Let's be clear about one thing, this 5-minute stretch isn't exercise. It's not about breaking a sweat. It's not about counting reps or chasing progress. It's about presence. And reclaiming something that many men lose without even noticing, ownership. Ownership of your body. Ownership of your morning. Ownership of your strength, quiet, grounded, and still very alive. Because what happens when you stop moving with intention? You don't just stiffen. You don't just lose range of motion. You begin to lose that subtle sense of belonging in your own body. But the moment you sit down, plant your feet. Open your chest. Breathe deep. And stretch, you send a message to every cell, every joint, every nerve, I'm still here. I still lead this body. I still choose how I show up in this life. And that's not just a stretch. That's a return. To self. To dignity. To vitality. So tomorrow, before the day gets away from you, pause. Pull out your chair. And give yourself 5 minutes. Not to fix anything. Not to prove anything. But to say, this body still belongs to me, and I choose to live like it does. Because vitality isn't something you chase. It's something you return to, one breath, one stretch, one quiet moment at a time.